Okay, so this is Coach Brown, day 3 of remote learning. All right, so I've done improved from pieces of paper to a whiteboard. I done set up a whole office in one of my spare bedrooms. So we're stepping it up for y'all. Okay, me and Miss Raines are working hard. Make sure y'all are not being lazy on y'all's end. Okay, so let's look at this. All right, now what we've been doing, we've been looking at, okay, two binomials. All right, and doing our hills or doing our box method and going from what we call here, this is our factored form, okay? And then this is our standard form, okay? So we've been going, like I say, we've been going from factored form to standard form, all right, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. Well, today we're going to do the opposite. We're going to look at given a trinomial here, okay, given it in standard form and going to our factored form, okay? So let's erase this, all right? And how we're going to do that is with the X method, okay? So we draw a big X on our paper, all right? So what we're going to do, pretty much to go from my standard to factored form, like I just talked to y'all about, we're going to try and think of numbers that multiply to make C, which is our constant term, just 12 by itself, okay? And then add to make 7, the middle term, which is B, all right? So what you do, you take your C term and put it at the top of the X, and you take your B term and you put it at the bottom, right? Now you can even go a step further so you don't forget. Remember, I'm trying to add to make the middle term and multiply to make the end term, 12, okay? So let's think of some numbers that multiply to make 12, all right? Well, look, let's go ahead and try 2 and 6, right? A lot of people are gonna go to 2 and 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. And then when I add it, 2 plus 6 is 8, okay? So that didn't work, right? Because remember, when I add 2 and 6, I'm trying to get the middle term, which is 7, and that didn't work. So now let's think of some other numbers that multiply to make 12, okay? So when I do that, now let's try 4 and 3, okay? I know 4 times 3 is 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. 4 plus 3 is 7, okay? So that checked out, all right? So those are my factors. Now remember how I had it written over here? So all you're going to do, you're going to take your factors. Remember, you've got x. We know they're both going to be x and x to start with. And then I'm just going to take 4. It was a positive 4, so put plus 4. It was a positive 3, so I'm going to put plus 3. So that's my factored form. Now, just to show you, tie this all together, when we distribute and do our hills, okay, x times x, x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. So when you combine your like terms, look what we got. Okay, so that was the goal. All right, then just to show you, when I work it back out, I get what I started with. All right, so the goal was to go from standard to factor. Okay, and I just showed you that's pretty much how you check it. If you ever want to check, just distribute it back out and see if you get what you started with. Okay, and as long as you get what you started with, then you know you're correct. Okay. So what your answer would be when they say to factor that is just simply, like I said, x plus 4, all right, for that, and then x plus 3. Okay? So let's look at one more example, all right? And the only time it gets a little more difficult is when you've got a negative number involved, okay? And that'll all make sense in a second. So some tricks I've got, whenever everything's positive, you know both your factors are going to be positive. Our last answer was x plus 4, x plus 3. Both positive numbers because everything in the original trinomial that we got was positive, okay? So now let's look at if we got some negatives involved, okay? So let's say we had something like x squared minus 8x plus 12, okay? So think about it, all right? Let's go ahead and fill out our x. So what goes at the top? The C term, which is 12. What goes at the bottom? The B term, which was negative 8. Make sure the signs are very important, okay? So think about it. The only way I can add to get a negative and multiply to get a positive is if both the factors are going to be negative numbers, okay? Because think about it, all right? A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative plus a negative is a negative. So I know both my factors are going to be negative because the middle is negative and the end is positive. So that's the only way that can happen, okay? So now let's think of numbers that multiply to make 12. Well, let's try 2 and 6 again, okay? So think about it. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. Okay, so that worked out. Now let's try with the bottom. We got to add them. So negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8. So that worked out. Okay, I added to get negative 8. I multiplied to get positive 12. So that's my factors. Okay, so remember, you just start out. We know it's just going to be with our x. X is in the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to put negative 2, so minus 2 with one, and negative 6 with the other one. Okay, that's going to be it. Now that would be my answer. Okay, now just to show you that I'm not just making this stuff up, and work this back out. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. Now let's go this way. Negative 2x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. Now when we simplify this, that's negative 8x. I started with what they gave me, okay? So that checks out. So I know that's correct, okay? So that's how you factor with the x method.